What up, friends? It's actually raining in California. So to celebrate this occasion, I'm going to be reviewing USS's newest album and last album, Einsteins of Consciousness. USS is just something that I love. Weird genre combinations, weird songwriting, all wrapped up in a very catchy package. The Canadian duo of Ashley and Human Kebab have 2 full-length albums and 3 EPs that they released before this project, all full of just wacky and interesting sound that span their 13-year career. Einsteins of Consciousness, though, like I said before, is the last hurrah for the band before the duo go their separate ways. Unfortunately, while it's not bad per se, it does feel like the tank was running on empty a bit. There's definitely some good tracks on here, but it seems like the guys were wise to hang things up when they did. Probably one of the worst things about the record is that it starts off with a lot of duds, especially with the opening track Undivided. The simplistic pop and electro beat comes off incredibly generic for the group. Ashley's vocals aren't the best on this one, which is weird considering they've done slow songs before that have worked out just fine. I don't know what happened on this one. The instrumental in general is very sparse, with a very simplistic sort of drum pad for the beat, along with some pretty uninspired synth passages too. The lyrics about how we can't seem to break through our shortening attention spans and connect with people easily are some pretty interesting lyrical topics, but they're delivered kind of half-heartedly, and just the instrumental can't pick up the slack, unfortunately. However, in breaking up the sort of weak first half of the record, we have the song iWant coming in next, which is probably one of the best songs on the album. The hard-hitting beat mixed with the grungy bass tones along with the very fun turntables, it has a lot of energy and it has a lot of personality that I feel a lot of the songs on the first half lack. Ashley's harmonic tones contrast the sort of gritty nature of the instrumental really well. I also really love the digital synths and just sound effects thrown in along with Human Kebab's background vocals and also some delicate acoustic guitar in there. It's such a weird combination of sounds, like I said before, but USS know this stuff very well, and I'm glad they're still at least trying to do something like this. There's also some pretty well put together lyrics about realizing that you're in a rut and trying to break out of the anxiety of being so just isolated and doing nothing for so long. Next, we have Aya. Weirdly 2 for 2 on boring ass songs named Aya on this channel. You know, it's kind of weird that it happened twice. This one is arguably even more basic and simplified compared to Undivided. There's some generic 808s and a guitar that's just trying to be gritty and dark, but it just doesn't quite get there. The chorus does have a nice spacey vibe to it, and I really do like Ashley's delivery on the chorus as well, but the verses are just so boring and so slow. It's just a slog to get through them. Ashley's weird sort of rapping that comes in during the second verse also just doesn't fit the mood of the track. I'm sorry. You know, I love Ashley and Human Kebab's weird rap sometimes, but why on this one? The lyrical content, or concept rather, about sort of being shackled to problems that you faced in childhood and how they still affect you, I think it's a pretty interesting deep dive, but they're not as well composed compared to lyrics on some songs on the rest of the album. I feel like they should have went a little bit deeper on this one. It's kind of surface level, unfortunately. Okay, Feel Alive, the last of the no thank yous on this one. This one's not as bad, I guess. The sort of sing-songy, guitar-driven opener is pretty fun, but then it just sort of spontaneously burst out into an EDM track. I don't know why, but that's what it does. It's not even a really good EDM or dance-influenced instrumental either. It's pretty generic, sounds like a lot of generic sort of electronic stuff that you hear. It also sounds weirdly a bit dated, I will say. Like it came from the early 2010s or something like that. I don't know what they were going for on this one. Okay, now we get to the good shit. Stir the Pot starts off this little trend right here. This one might be a bit controversial, and who likes it or not, it is very out there, but I think it's very quirky and fun. It reminds me a lot of the stuff that they did way back on their Welding the C Drive EP. The super humorous flow melded with the toy-like keys and bouncy synths to create a really fun effect. They also throw in these weird sampled vocals here and there that just add to the sort of energy and off-the-wall nature of the track. I think it's really fun. The beat is also very lively, and they add these sort of glitchy effects to the track here and there too to kind of top off the strangeness. I also love all the weird references in the lyrics. We got disco, yeah, but we also have Rage Against the Machine, Wheel of Fortune, and Tony Hawk all coming together in the same song. So, way to bring everybody together, guys. Big Life, 26 Letters, was one of the lead singles of the track. It's alright. I think it's a bit overly cheesy. The instrumental kind of walks the line in being too simplistic or actually having some meat to it, but it's okay. The chorus is super bombastic, but it does fit the lyrical themes about taking control of your life, and I think the huge presence of the drums mixed with the smaller instrumentals like the keys is a pretty cool combo. I also really like Ashley's delivery on the bridge. It adds a nice change of pace to the overall instrumental. Now these next three tracks are starting with Light Army, of course. This one reminds me a lot of their previous song Nepal, released on their Advanced Basics EP. It has that swaying groove along with the sort of delicate touch of Ashley's vocals that just come together for a really nice vibe. The strings are also a pretty great segue into the very bouncy and almost like Disney soundtrack-esque chorus. I don't really know how to describe the chorus, but it has that sort of film score vibe to it and how dramatic it is. To add to all the drama of the track, all of the instrumentals just kind of weave in and out of different parts of the song. It has a lot of texture to it, and I like how the instrumental doesn't really stay in one place for too long. They always just throw in something else in there as well to kind of shake things up a bit. The lyrics are about finding inspiration just to get out of bed in the day, and I think it fits the somber mood of the instrumental, and Ashley does a pretty good job in taking us through the motions and the routine in how he tries to get motivated, and I think that sort of timeline, story-like approach really fits. Pages goes back a bit to their grungy roots when they used to put more emphasis on the guitar along with the electronics back in their early days, like kind of with the Approved EP as well. The guitar does lead into a bit of a simplistic instrumental, but I think it works this time compared to the songs on the first half. The chorus of this track is actually probably one of my favorite moments on the record. It's just so smooth, it has the perfect energy to it, and I don't know, the way that everything comes together is just great. There's a weird combination of hopefulness and also a sense of nihilism to the track. I think that's really embodied by the sort of spacey synths and the delicate guitar work that comes in near the end of the chorus as well. There's some fun little video game sounds coming in here and there, adding a bit of playfulness to the song, and I love it when the sort of synth strings and background vocals come in near the end of the track. Oh, it's just a magical moment. The lyrics kind of mimic the chorus's inspiration and vibe, I would say, with the fact that Ashley's kind of describing a feeling of acceptance that life is inherently meaningless, of course. Medicine is definitely the most grungy song on the record. They've always had a bit of that sound, but I feel like it's almost most prevalent here. I love the echoing drum and the vocal inflection, and the turntable feels right at home for a song like this, weirdly enough. The harder chorus brings that guitar into the forefront, and I think it was pretty impressive how Ashley kind of juggles his delicate vocals and his harsher vocals in the same song. The quirky synth tones add some fun ambiance, and there's just a lot of cool mixing and matching of different genres that add to this track's uniqueness. Lyrics on this one are kind of basic and nonsensical, but I feel like they fit the track's energy. The song in general just has that sort of fun, do things for the hell of it vibe. It is a track kind of about self-examination, from what I can gather, but it seems to do it in a very nonchalant and almost unserious way. With Happy and Balance nearing the end of the album, there's not really much I have to say about these, to be honest. They're kind of in the same boat as Big Life for me, where they're a bit overly cheesy, and they're not bad per se. They just don't really do a lot of interesting things either. They're kind of the epitome of just being there, you know, but I do feel like Happy is probably the best out of the songs in this category. Dragons is a pretty fitting ending song for not only the album, but the duo's careers as a whole, I would say, bringing a little bit of their drum and bass influences back like they explored with Questimation. That super harsh and twangy guitar is just such a great opener. And those heavy electronics almost going into like dubstep territory, they're perfectly fitted for a song like this. It's a super creative combo, and I just love how driving this thing is. Ashley's harsher tones fit this song super well, and I really love the effects that they added to the instrumental during the chorus. Weirdly enough, it almost feels like it could be like a final boss tune or something, which I guess is fitting for the band's final song and final album. It seems like Ashley on this track has finally come to terms with his inner demons, and while the album overall had a bit of a rocky run, it really does end on a strong note. So, unfortunately, Einsteins of Consciousness wasn't exactly the swan song that I was hoping for the band. The intro of the album especially doesn't make a lot of good first impressions aside from iWant, and the instrumentals in general just don't feel as inspired compared to previous releases. There were some great songs here though, definitely. I feel like this is just one of the ones where you kind of pick out your favorites and then you just kind of forget about the rest. However, USS as a whole have had a pretty great run, I think. I would give both Questimation and New World Alphabet probably a 9, honestly, and their EPs are pretty great in their own right. One weaker release won't stain their legacy by any means, and I feel like the duo were smart to realize when they said all that needed to be said and knew when to throw in the towel. I think that's pretty respectable. Overall, I'm feeling a light 6 on USS's Einsteins of Consciousness. Now, of course, we do have to talk about the album cover on this show, and this one I think it's pretty interesting. I do like all of the sort of algebraic formulas in the background. I think, even though it's not really my thing, tying into Ash's spirituality, the whole chakra rainbow sort of thing is a pretty unique and neat aesthetic, especially when combined with the very sort of black and algebraic background. The the little pyramid sort of Illuminati thing, like, it's okay. I don't really see what it has to do with the album that much, but, you know, it's pretty striking, and while it's not the best album cover out there, color combination's pretty good, and I like the overall idea behind it, at least. But that is all that I had to say about USS's final album. What did you guys think about it? Was it actually the swan song you were hoping for? Did it kind of disappoint you? Did you think they were kind of wise to throw in the towel when they did? Let me know, and until the next one, farewell.